From KATU News, this is breaking news.
The suspect is in custody at the Beaverton Police Department. I can confirm at this time that there have been 4 people stabbed in the incident.
New details in the last hour about a deadly stabbing spree in Washington County. It all started at a bank in Beaverton around 11 a.m. 2 women there were stabbed. One of them died. After that, the suspect allegedly stabbed and carjacked 2 different drivers before taking off on foot into a neighborhood in Tigard, where he was eventually caught. Thanks for staying with us. I'm Deborah Knapp.
And I'm Lincoln Graves in for Steve tonight. We have live team coverage. Joe English is live at that stabbing scene. Lachey Wesley is live where the suspect was caught. But we begin with Catherine Kissel, who just got an update from police. Catherine?
Yeah, we just heard from Beaverton police in the last hour. They say that this investigation is complicated because it overlaps jurisdictions. As you heard earlier, they are confirming that a 20-year-old man is in custody. We know that 4 people were stabbed in this crime spree. We heard from the police chief and the mayor earlier tonight, and both are deeply affected by what happened earlier today.
This was a horrific crime, and our hearts go out to those victims and their families. I want to reiterate what Officer Henderson said. The suspect is in custody, and there's no longer any threat to the community.
We are working to find out more about the victims tonight. We should also tell you that the one person who was stabbed is still in critical condition. We should also tell you that this shopping center will be restricted at least for some time while police are still processing this investigation. We're live in Beaverton. Catherine Kissel, KATU News.
All right, Catherine, thank you. KATU's Joe English is also at Murray Hill Marketplace, where 3 of the stabbings happened.
Safeway employees told you, Joe, that they may have sold the suspect the knife he used to stab the people just before he did it.
Well, they've been talking about that today. They've been waiting to hear back on identity of the suspect so they can know for sure whether it's the guy or not. But police aren't answering our questions about that right now. But the self-checkout manager said she saw a man come in by a big knife not too long before they had heard about the stabbing, and they made that possible connection. Police say the suspect stabbed 2 people at Wells Fargo Bank. One of them, a Wells Fargo customer, died. Then he stabbed another person at Planet Fitness, then took a car and tried to make a getaway.
It's alarming and nerve-wracking to think that it could really happen anywhere.
Stephanie Sig was on her way to do some banking when somebody stopped her.
And I walked down the stairs and someone said that there was a stabbing.
Sig says this is a very safe part of town. It didn't look that way Wednesday morning and through the afternoon, with dozens of police vehicles and officers surrounding several businesses.
You never know. You never know something's going to happen. I think the key in the future is how can something like this be prevented. Employees can be trained, but you can only be trained so much. It's not everyone is a FBI expert or a police officer who's there to jump in right away.
The stabbing happened late morning. It was mid-afternoon before police began escorting people, employees, and maybe more customers who saw what happened to their cars. Now, there's still some people inside Wells Fargo branch here. Not as much activity as there has been through the evening, but some of the businesses out here, Planet Fitness, Ongoing Community Credit Union, Wells Fargo, Insomnia Coffee, they are likely to be closed through the evening and perhaps a good part of tomorrow as well. But other businesses in the Murray Hill Marketplace are still open this evening, but this investigation looks like it's going to be going on for quite a while. In Beaverton, Joe English, KATU News.
Okay, Joe, thank you. A witness shared this video with KATU News. It shows police surrounding a person on the ground. It was taken in the neighborhood. Police say the suspect fled to on foot.
KATU's Lachey Wesley is live in that Tigard neighborhood. And Lachey, how far is this from the Wells Fargo where this all started?
Well, it is about 5 miles. We have been talking with multiple witnesses here in Tigard who actually saw that suspect flee on foot through this neighborhood and eventually down this street you see here. A swarm of officers filled this neighborhood street in Tigard. Edward Rotaro captured this video outside his home on Southwest 83rd.
I was looking on my street and I saw a bunch of cops coming down the street, a bunch of undercover cops, so I got a little worried. Looked to my left, saw like a group of cops just grouped up. You know, a couple more cops walking towards them.
Edward says police told him they were looking for someone.
I got back inside because they told me there was a guy around here stabbing suspect.
That person was just one house away. Edward says from inside he saw police locate the suspect.
Saw the guy just, you know, laying on the floor, sort of looking towards my house.
Edward got video of police with canines in his backyard searching for evidence. Chopper 2 also captured police near West Side Christian High School. Police tell us the school was placed on lockdown as a precaution as officers were searching for the suspect. Edward tells KATU News the whole area was filled with police for hours.
They were on every single intersection, a couple more near the church up the street. It was way too many cops around here.
We're waiting to learn the name of that suspect and what kind of charges he faces. We will update you as soon as we get it. Live in Tiger, Lachey Wesley, KATU News.
Lachey, thank you. Stay with KATU News for continuing coverage of this story. There is still a lot left to learn. We'll have another live report with the latest from the scene and police coming up at 6 tonight. You can also track developments on our website, KATU.com, and on our social media pages.
We are also following breaking news on Capitol Hill tonight. This is a live look at the House, where representatives just wrapped up debate before they will begin the voting process on the impeachment of President Trump. They will vote on 2 different articles: abuse of power by the president and obstruction of Congress. So continue to monitor KATU News for what's happening, and we will check back in a few minutes.
A member in my community was murdered.
Grief and anger from those attending the first court appearance for a man charged with murdering a transgender Vancouver teenager last June and dumping her body in a remote part of Clark County.
KATU's Bob High is live at the Clark County Courthouse with some new information in this case today. Bob?
Yeah, Lincoln, it's in this newly released probable cause affidavit. In it, investigators say that the Clark County medical examiner will rule that Nikki Kuhnhausen, the victim in this case, died by asphyxiation, likely strangled to death, allegedly at the hands of David Bogdanov, after he learned that the woman he had met and likely had a sexual encounter with was transgender. According to court documents, 25-year-old David Bogdanov told investigators he was really disturbed after finding out the woman he'd met, 18-year-old Nikki Kuhnhausen, was transgender. Bogdanov telling detectives that homosexuality is unacceptable in Russian culture.
I have met her, I think, about a total of 5 times, and it's usually in passing.
Chanel Sugar Star is transgender and says she came to Bogdanov's appearance on charges of murdering Nikki Kuhnhausen with hopes that Bogdanov will eventually face hate crime charges as well as murder charges.
Absolutely hate crime. No question about it. She is a trans woman. He said it's offensive to his culture, and to think anything less of this being a hate crime is absolutely preposterous.
I asked the Clark County Prosecuting Attorney's Office whether it's considering adding hate crime charges in the case. A representative said the office couldn't comment on any additional charges being considered against Bogdanov. Court documents say when Nikki Kuhnhausen's remains were found near Larch Mountain December 7th, one of Kuhnhausen's hair extensions was tied in the knot of what appeared to be a ligature, a length of material used to strangle someone. Authorities are still looking at whether any of the suspect's family knew what had happened.
Obviously, part of the investigation that's still ongoing. The conflicting statements certainly raise some concern.
A judge today ordered David Bogdanov held without bail until his next court appearance scheduled for January 2nd. Live at the Clark County Courthouse in Vancouver, Bob High, KATU News.
All right, Bob, thank you. Tonight, KATU News is declaring a storm tracker weather alert. We're tracking several different issues affecting several different areas.
In fact, right now, an ice storm warning is under effect for the upper Hood River Valley, where we could see some freezing rain tonight. We're also keeping an eye on the storm that could bring upwards of 5 inches of rain in the Willamette Valley and potential flooding.
KATU meteorologist Dave Selesky tracking all of this. Lay it out for us, Dave.
Yeah, well, travel conditions going up into the gorge late tonight, upper Hood River Valley, Highway 14, some of the higher elevations could be tricky late tonight and going into tomorrow because of that ice storm possibility. Same thing for the Cascades overnight and going into tomorrow on Thursday as well. There's the latest we have on radar. Now, we've been dry here in the Portland, Vancouver area. A little bit of light snow falling up in the Cascades at this time. There is some heavier rain just up off the Oregon-Washington coastline at this time. It's the leading edge of a system that's going to move on shore late tonight and early on Thursday. That is not part of our atmospheric river. That's going to be moving on in, coming up out of the south, and it's going to be a fire hose aimed right at the Pacific Northwest, beginning tomorrow on Thursday, later in the day, going into Friday, and perhaps even lingering into Saturday now. So we have high snowfall rates in the Oregon and the Washington Cascades. We'll have to keep a very close eye on rising rivers and streams in the area by Friday as this system moves on through and really kind of hangs up over parts of western Oregon and southwestern Washington. Now, because of this, we have that winter weather advisory up east of the Cascades. Here is the winter storm warning for the Oregon and the Washington Cascades. Right there is the ice storm warning in effect this evening and now going through until Friday at 10 o'clock for parts of the upper Hood River Valley area above the Parkdale area. And this green area you see right there, that's a flood watch. It's now in effect all the way, we're beginning in effect tomorrow for the entire length of the Willamette Valley, the Cascade foothills, and for the Oregon Coast Range. Oh, but wait, there's one more. That's over here. We have a high wind watch going up tomorrow afternoon for the Oregon coast, where wind gusts could be approaching 50 to 60 miles an hour. Bottom line here is a lot of weather all aimed at the Pacific Northwest over the next 2 to 3 days. Now, coming up, our next segment, we'll talk more about how much rain is going to be arriving. And we're talking about not inches, but feet of snow in the Cascades over the next few days as well. We'll have all the forecasts for you and when things finally begin to settle down, and even a preview of Christmas Day. Back to you guys.
All right, Dave, thank you. We want to take you live now to Capitol Hill, where the U.S. House of Representatives, they have begun the first vote on the first article of impeachment. You can see these vote totals slowly starting to creep up on your screen. They allot about 15 minutes for this vote to take place. You can see the yays and the nays. Obviously, mostly Democratic votes on the yay side right now, Republican votes on the nay side, but that NV column on the end, those are the votes that are still yet to be counted. Those numbers shrinking as the yays and nays start to build up.
I'm Kelly Ozier, live in News Control. Coming up, after a horrible case of domestic violence that we have covered, more victims and survivors are coming forward. The change they hope to see, that's next.
Plus, it may be cold outside, but you'll want to think twice before wrapping your child in a bulky winter coat. The warning from Consumer Reports still ahead.
And we're going to continue to monitor that impeachment vote, but this is also a live look at President Trump right now at a rally in Battle Creek, Michigan. The vice president is there with him. We are monitoring all of this. We'll be back in just a few moments with more. And history happening right now. This is a live look at the House of Representatives in Washington, D.C. They are voting on the first article of impeachment. They're in the middle of this vote right now. You can see the numbers on the middle of the screen slowly start to creep up on the yay and nay side. The numbers on the right-hand column under NV, those are members of Congress that still need to vote. We believe the threshold here is about 215, which would approve this article. Then they will move on to approving or negating the second article of impeachment. So we are watching this vote closely as this gets underway in the House of Representatives. So after the vote in the House, here's what happens next. First, a president who has been impeached by the House can still serve as president. It's up to the Senate now to hold a trial to decide whether to remove President Trump from office. Senators will serve as jurors, and House lawmakers will work as prosecutors. The Chief Justice of the Supreme Court will preside over the trial. The Senate must take a public vote, and 2/3 of senators present must vote to convict in order to remove the president from office. We expect the trial to start in early January.
When the trial begins, Oregon Senator Jeff Merkley will be one of those jurors. We spoke with him today about the hearings. He says it's important that when it comes to a trial, the Senate focuses on country before party.
It should have nothing to do with being a Republican or a Democrat. It should have everything to do with evaluating the direct information of the conduct of the president in terms of crimes or abuse of power.
Senator Merkley also says it's President Trump's responsibility to present his side of the case in the trial and that he should do so in line with the Constitution. Another live look at the House floor where representatives continue to vote, and we will continue to keep you updated here when we're not on the air. You can get the latest on our website at KATU.com and our Twitter and Facebook page.
I feel a little bit of survivor's guilt because I'm still alive.
New at 5 now, a survivor of domestic violence speaks out to KATU just weeks after another case of domestic violence turned deadly.
KATU's Kelly Ozair spoke with her today. She is live in News Control. The situations are actually similar, Kelly.
Very similar. As we've reported, just days before Keeland Hill would kill his wife, Tiffany Hill, he too was released from jail. I spoke with a woman today who's facing her own domestic violence nightmare. Her ex was also just released from jail. She says something has to change. Sitting across from me, you might not know it, but Amy Wise Mendez is terrified. Amy is at the center of a battle, one where her ex-boyfriend is threatening, assaulting, and even trying to kill her. The similarities are eerie. Tiffany Hill was murdered by her husband, Keeland Hill, after a similar battle. Like Amy, Tiffany got a protection order and even asked that he not be released from jail. Its similarities are not lost on Amy.
I'm glad I'm alive, but she did everything in her power. She got a restraining order, she voiced her opinion in court, and he was still allowed to get out.
Amy says what happened to Tiffany never should have, but it happens more than any of us realize. She says her biggest hope out of sharing her story is for change, and not just for her, but all survivors. Now coming up tonight at 6, Amy's ex was released from jail just yesterday. We'll tell you why, and also why this isn't the first time he's been released without charges. That's all new at 6. We're live in News Control. Kelly Ozair, KATU News.
Kelly, thank you. As we turn to Dave, I want to let you know that we are monitoring what's happening in the House. They are voting on the first article of impeachment, and of course, we'll continue to monitor those numbers as they come in. But you are monitoring some severe weather.
Yeah, severe weather for much of the Pacific Northwest beginning tomorrow and going into the first part of the weekend as well. So again, we got heavy rain in the way, folks. So Thursday through Saturday is our timeline now. And again, we're talking about rising rivers and streams across the Pacific Northwest, hazardous travel conditions in the mountains and even low-lying areas because of rising water, and because we're talking so much rain coming in such a short period of time, we've got the potential out there for seeing some landslides across the region as well. Now, currently we have dry skies but overcast skies at this time. Temperature now sitting at 39 degrees, bit of an east wind coming out of the gorge at about 9 miles an hour. But again, you can see overcast skies for the current time. That'll be changing. Now, here's the satellite. And again, here's this next little weather maker right here. That's going to give us some light rain for this evening. But the bigger push with that, if you will, that atmospheric river, that's right here. The timeline for that now, not getting into our area until sometime midday tomorrow on Thursday, and then all of Thursday evening and going into Friday. Here's the hour-by-hour forecast. So again, out of this first little cold front, a little bit of light rain this evening and going into tomorrow morning. There's that atmospheric river producing heavier rain tomorrow morning, first in parts of southern Oregon. It'll turn north so that by Thursday afternoon we have heavier rain developing in the northern part of the coast and the northern part of the Willamette Valley, including here in northwestern Oregon. Rain continues heavy at times going into Friday. I think the heaviest rain right now is going to be Friday morning into Friday afternoon. That front just parks itself right up over the northwestern corner of the state and just hangs there almost all day long with very heavy rain. We're also seeing some fairly high winds on the Oregon coast. We have that high wind watch up, so we're looking at perhaps seeing wind gusts upwards of 50 to 60 miles an hour going in towards tomorrow evening and going into Friday. Rainfall totals, you can see, pretty big numbers popping up here. Tonight through tomorrow, going into Friday, some of our computer models easily guessing over 3 inches of rain possible. So our 3 and 7 day forecast tonight, 40 for the overnight low. Tomorrow's high at 52 degrees. And again, moderate rain developing heavier towards the latter part of the day. Heavy rain now for you on Friday. Area rivers and streams will be monitored. Going into Saturday, still seeing some rain, beginning to let up, though, towards the latter part of the day. And by Sunday right now, we have some showers. Monday, Tuesday, and of course, Wednesday is Christmas. It's like drier, calmer skies ahead. There you are.
All right, thanks, Dave. We want to take you back to this impeachment vote happening right now at the U.S. House of Representatives. Article 1, 211, 212 yeas right now. CNN reporting that 216 is the threshold needed. But this is a live vote. We're going to keep monitoring this.
In fact, it is at 213 at this point for those who are voting yes for the first article of impeachment. And again, as we monitor this, the president is in Battle Creek, Michigan for a rally with prospective voters there. We will continue to monitor this and be back after this.